Welcome back to Home Improvement Woodworking. For those of you who've been patiently watching as I build this tool cabinet, today's an exciting day because I'm going to put about half the tools in this cabinet. I've done some finishing work, I've made up all the components that are going to hold the tools, and I'm going to show you step by step as I go through and assemble everything and get things organized.
Our videos show you how to add value and character to your home.
This is the centerpiece of the room, so it really needs to visually work.
Learn how to get quality results that you'll be proud of. Welcome to Home Improvement Woodworking.
The first thing that I did to prepare the cabinet was I put on a couple coats of shellac. I used garnet shellac because it helps bring out the richness of the cherry, and I made it up with flakes. If you're curious about how this is done, let me know in the comments below and maybe I'll make a video on that. So with the finish on, what I was doing then was making up various components to hold the tools. So I've got two small shelves here that I made, and these are going to hold planes. Because I've got a 3/4 inch panel in the back of the cabinet, I can just screw that right in. On the door here, I've got a lot more organization going on. I have a rack here for the chisels. I have a rack here for screwdrivers. I have another component here that's going at the top of the door, and this is going to hold a number of other tools that I frequently use. And I also have a magnetic strip that I'm going to install. So I'll show you step by step as I put those in, and you can see how this comes together as I load up the tools. On the left side of the cabinet here, I'm putting tools that I frequently would grab with my left hand, and one of those is chisels. So I'm going to put this in here, but for me, I don't like to see screws when I secure things, so I tried to figure out how I could get this rack in here and keep it secured without actually seeing any fasteners. So the solution I came up with is some notches in these side pieces. So this one actually goes on this side. This is going to hold it up, and then there's a notch under here that corresponds to the distance, so that this can go in and sit on top of that notch. So I'll install these side pieces first, and then what I can do is show you how that goes in. Now you notice that here and here I've got additional notches. Those are receive the sides here and keep these sides aligned, and again I can screw further up. So now I can take this screwdriver holder with the notches on each end and put them on top here. So what this does is it gives me two shelves without any visible screws anywhere, and it allows me to adjust this if I want to change this at some point in the future. The next part is a magnetic strip. Now this one, I can't conceal the screws, or I haven't figured out a way to do it, but if someone has an idea, I'd be happy to hear it. So I'm just screwing this right into the 1/2 inch panel that's part of the door construction. Here and here. Now the last part for this door is right at the top here, and I built this piece. It's got a couple of different spots for the tools that I plan to put in it, and I'm just going to screw it in from the top. Just screw there and there to secure it. Let me show you what this is about. Here I've got a peg for my strop. Here I've got a peg for a paint scraper, and here I've made this custom fit for an important piece of family history. This is my great-grandfather's fencing pliers, and I use this sometimes in furniture repairs. And what I've done to make sure that this doesn't fall is I've carved a notch in here to receive the claw here on the fencing pliers. And so that goes in there and prevents it from falling out. So as I open and close the doors, that's not going to come off. So I'll get this secured, and then we'll start loading up the tools. The chisel rack is made with 2 drill bits. One is a Forstner bit to set the recess here for the handle, and the second one is smaller, just drilling through here to allow the chisel to come into the opening and be set in place. One of the things I love about YouTube is feedback from viewers. On our Fixing Furniture channel, I was producing a video on replacing wood plugs, and on there I was using a standard chisel to be able to cut off the end of that plug and pare it really close. Michael Fling, one of our subscribers, suggested I get an offset chisel. So I purchased this, haven't used it yet. This is a Henry Taylor tool, and an offset chisel allows you to work right flat against a surface so that you can do some paring. That's sort of shaving off the end of wood without actually marring the surface. So this brand new tool now has a home right here. I also have my Opa's, that's grandfather in Dutch, carving gouge, and it says right here made in Holland. So that's got a special piece of sentimental value. So in the screwdriver section here, I've got a tack lifter, that's for upholstery work, an awl, a small slotted screwdriver, a small Phillips, and this is a Blum screwdriver. This I received in a competition when I was in high school. I did some international woodworking competitions, so that has some memories attached to it. And I have some Canadian Fuller screwdrivers. These were also part of a package that I won. So these are 3 Robertsons. Robertsons are used a lot in Canada. That's our standard wood screw. And then the last thing I've got here is my Yankee screwdriver. And I remember seeing one of these in grade 1 or grade 2. The janitor was using it in the school, and I was fascinated by it. This is the first cordless screwdriver. This spiral design, I remember seeing it and being distracted in class. It's a really cool tool. So I use this in furniture repairs just because that slotted end works really well on the furniture I repair. Up the top here, I've got a couple finishing nails. One is for the staple puller, and the other one is for a scraper. Now, I'm not really happy with the setup. I don't feel like this is finished enough, so if someone has suggestions on what to do here to make that look a little nicer, I'd be happy to hear them. And then on the magnetic bar here, I've got my diagonal cutters, and just a spot to store tools on a magnetic strip that allows flexible movement, but still allows you to get screwdrivers out. So I'm happy with all this except for this area here. I need to work on that a bit. Now on the main body, I haven't decided where everything's going yet. I've got my spoke shaves here and my draw knife, and I've decided that I'm going to put the planes this way. I was thinking about doing a plane till, but I actually enjoy seeing the planes in the cabinet. So I've just made up this shelf here, bit of an angle, and the screws are driven on a 45-degree angle from the top. So I'm just going to screw those in, and then I can put the planes in. So I can now put my planes on. You can see I put the screws in here so they're concealed when the planes are sitting on the shelf. This one's I bought used, had to replace the handle on it, and actually as I was working on the handle I made it wider because I have large hands, and there was a bit of blowout here, but I decided to just leave that on there, see how I like the width of that handle, and then I can make a nicer one if I'm happy with it. And then this plane here, you'll see this is part of a logo on my Fixing Furniture channel. This is my great-grandfather's plane. So I use this one the most in the shop. It's really tuned up and working well, so I enjoy that one. The last component goes over here, and it looks like a little tiny shelf. This nesting pocket in here is for a brace and bit, and so it sits inside there and holds it snugly. Now I've only used this brace and bit a couple of times, but it's my late father-in-law's and it's got some sentimental value, so I'd like to mount this in the cabinet right up here. I've turned on the valance light, and I can now put this brace and bit on its shelf, nice and secure. So I hope you've enjoyed how this is organized. I'd love to hear your feedback on it. Obviously I've got a lot more space here to fill in with files and saws and squares. Still have some knobs to put on here, but I'm happy with how this is starting to come together. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can click over here, click on the bell icon, and you'll get notified every time we publish a video. Until next time, enjoy your time in the workshop.